Hey, good morning and good evening to all of you in the Philippines. I think that's where I'm concentrating a lot of my attention. However, it's to all of you. And just Michael and Texas Jake coming to you and giving you a little bit of an update on things going on here in the Chicago area. Well, from what I understand, there's still a lot of businesses that are boarded up and or under some kind of quarantine, all restaurants, etc., hotels, uh, things of that sort. Quite severely. I think they call it level 3 here right now, but I guess if it goes to 2-1, there's threat of them actually closing down the country. How about that? Just to try to prevent this. And I hear that even though they may have a vaccination earlier this time of the year, that it's a 2-stage vaccination. It has to be under 100 minus, Fahrenheit or whatever, 100. And then it's 3 weeks later you have to take it again in order for it to work properly. So it's getting quite crazy over here. Excuse me. And I am concerned, about a lot of things. The world's changing all around us, and I don't even know what direction we're going in right now. But because of a lot of things and factors and, things that we go through every day on a regular, we're having to deal, hopefully not with things that I have talked to you about in the past. And I really concentrate on trust. When you have a relationship, whether it's with a spouse or a friend or a business person or it's your government, you want to be able to trust them. And that's something that we've, as a society of people or as a world, I think that there's a lot of confusion there. And there used to be, when a man shook your hand or, somebody gave their word, it was something that we lived by and we fought for, and we made it a practice in our lives, and our parents taught us why that was so necessary. I think what's happened to our country and here in the United States is that there is a lot of trust issues, and there's been a lot of scams, throughout life and in life. And some of the younger ones, what they would call millennials, I think, whether they be here or there, I think that they have grown up around a different standard. It's okay to tell little lies or white lies, and, we don't have to expose ourselves completely for sake of saving face. But I think what's happened to our society of people or of the world is that we've stepped away from a morale that was something that is almost dinosaurish, if that's not a word, but it's like the prehistoric, let's say that. It's prehistoric. You just don't know people that are just deeply rooted into truth and oath and love of brother and, fighting even for a country. There's been a lot of demonstration in ours of disrespect of a position, whether, you want to justify it or not, you don't like a certain person, but, politically, for all those that have, shown any disrespect to a position, it'd be like walking to a church and cursing at a priest, as far as I'm concerned. I was raised different, and when you were around authority, there was a reverence and a respect that you trusted. And sometimes in life, you experience, criminality, if that's a word. You see, people at borders. I did anyway, going to Mexico often, where people just can be bought and sold. and you see the truth and the lies, and growing up, if you must know what any man outside of a woman's beauty would expect out of her or in her is implicit trust. You gotta, even myself, I've tried to show my past and my present and maybe even talk about my future if I have one. But I try to share all that with people, because, and that might be to my detriment, especially if others would, interpret that you're, vulnerable or gullible or the type of person that has a heart and has genuine love for human beings and mankind. That, I don't want to be around too much that's corrupt, and that's become, it seems like it's a global epidemic also, not only the COVID, but we see society in all countries has been polluted by a standard that they've just adopted. Every day it seems like we just go backwards instead of forwards, and I know that we've, some of us grown up and things weren't always perfect, but to ever adopt a way of life to where you think somebody's got more, and in order to gain, I have to take it, or I play with somebody's emotions or heart, that to me is a crime. And some people are affected differently by that, and it's not always that their heart is broke, but I think in such disappointment you start to realize that wherever you go, that all mankind, woman or man, we're on guard, if we're smart, and we never really break down the walls, and we never really get close. We're kind of distant. LDR, long distance relationship. The unfortunate thing about that, long distance relationship, now you're thinking miles. Oh wow, she's 16 hours in a plane away, or he is, right? Sometimes you see people right next to each other, sitting side by side, of course 6 foot away, social distancing, and they're so far away from one another. That's also right here in their own country a long distance relationship, because people are not in tune to each other. They don't know who's telling the truth, who's lying, and who's cheating. And when you have that in your own house, believe me, and I always go Bible or biblical, it does say that a house divided will fall. So when there's no trust in a relationship, and I don't care what kind, it doesn't have to be a love affair or a marriage proposal. It could be business, it could be anything. Even going to the market and buying food, you don't know if it's good or bad or where they got it or what it is. And we hope that by way of label, that they're telling us that it's, they're telling us that it's good. So we believe it. We want to believe it. And maybe we were raised to believe it. And sometimes it's by taste that we recognize if something's good or bad. My mom used to always say, if it stung your tongue a little bit, it's probably bad, don't eat it. But we never discarded food. I've mentioned before that we grew up kind of on a poor side. And I watched 2 parents work together and make something happen for themselves and teach that to their children, of course. But they never taught us to do criminal things because we had a godly parenting. They felt like and taught us that if you did that sort of thing, that there was a consequence to an action. That's what I'm trying to say. And what I read in books growing up was things like, say, King Arthur and the Knight of the Round Table. There was something about the Round Table that made all men equal, and we are, but not always in strength or in knowledge or in spirituality. That's something that comes in time, and for some, they never get there. And my biggest concern about our society as a people, or what's even going on in the Philippines, because what I initially recognized it as is something that was very innocent and pure, and there was something almost mysterious and wonderful there, between the climate and the beautiful women. I thought that there was something else that wasn't adopted, which could be a Western standard, could be a Australian, could be a Canadian, it could be just a worldly standard. That because we all are kind of polluted by what's going on in the world, and we see, and then sometimes we even see that when others that are there that we're trying to communicate with are not being truthful with us. And that's what I'm about. I'm trying to tell you my truth, and I'm trying to say that those that are, misleading others, by false hopes or just by not telling their truth. I wouldn't let a crook in my house if I knew it was a crook. And so the belief is that then don't tell them you're a crook. But the risk is that you don't know who's in your house. See, so you have to familiarize yourself with people and by sometimes their actions. I grew up with a father that always taught us, it wasn't a popular thing to be Hispanic and Caucasian in the house. So my dad taught us, and I've had other relatives that went around the world and know what it's all about, and the depth of color and things that are indigenous of certain areas and why we have these ways or those ways. And I appreciate that. And I was going to say the Martin Luther King statement that you don't judge a man by his color but by his character. So I say that to say, when there's those of old, the older ones, the old school Philippine maybe, whether that was always a hustle and it's just that the younger ones have gotten better at it, I don't know, because I never did travel there. I wouldn't want that opinion, and I wouldn't want to think that everything everywhere in the world is just something that we buy and sell. Even dignity and our own integrity and self-respect, just to buy something, that's just not going to be with us when we leave this planet. So I was taught that. Others may have been taught differently. Like you want to have more now and who cares about later. I think that they call that something there in the Philippines. It's like, we ain't going to worry about tomorrow because today we party. And sometimes that sounds good. But to let you know how most Western people or Western men would think, unless they're wimpy and they don't do their homework, eventually anyway, if not right away. First they're infatuated, of course, and they want to think is positive, and it starts out like that. And sometimes you can get caught up in that too. But I think that eventually that we all come to terms, or we start to realize that maybe it's the grass, the things that we've been told isn't greener on the other side. So a lot of it is just a lure. And the biggest lure to me as a Westerner would be that, it's a culture that's different than your own. The foods are different. The love is hopefully intense and never compromised, other than what's natural, to a man and woman having differences from time to time. But just a different respect for, the arrangement of marriage or a relationship. And that could be anywhere, really. But I think that because of, if we're if we are to be mirrored as a country, this is the way it should be done, I'm ashamed of that sometimes. Because what's happening now in the world isn't what was, even though it was happening in my world when I was younger. I don't want to sound like I've been sheltered at all, because I grew up in gang-riddled neighborhoods. You don't even know what I've been through. Yet, my parents taught me the difference between right and wrong. And I just don't see why that is not today in our world, why that isn't, done. It's not a practice. It's more of a, it's a weakness maybe sometimes. And it should be something that should come very natural to us. And my first impression was that that's the way things were done elsewhere, because I bought it, you know, hook, line, and sinker. I was hooked, you know, by the smile, the hair, the beauty, you know, the parasitic island-like atmosphere. And I just thought that these people did it different, you know, but I saw that it was the same, and that was, of course, of disappointment. And that's just one, right, that did that to me. But I'm waiting for the next one that might or would, because their circumstances may even be worse and not the same as this person who had more than I was led to believe, by comparison, maybe to neighbor or others, you know. So, you know, just, I talk a lot about that, not because I'm just haunted by that experience. It's just that I am deterring those, you know, from thinking that maybe the grass is greener on the other side. It might be. It's tropical there, of course, you know, but it's all about trade-offs. And the real magic to meeting a Western man that would want you or love you like no other, and respect you and want to have a good relationship with you, that's not going to be had if, you know, a country could possibly be stereotyped by others' actions. I'm going to say that to say that I live in Illinois, like I said, and because there's been so much drama here about, you know, how this colored skin is different than that, you know. Now, could you imagine my situation? You know, Caucasian, Hispanic, you know, how do you do that? But still, or black and Hispanic, whatever. People are stereotyped by actions, and not one person is, all people sometimes. And that's what's so crazy, you know, is that all people can be pegged that way, or that the hustle is what it is. And what we have to know is understand that that possibility potentially is there. There's no incentive, because we have that right here in our own backyards. You know, Chicago is it's different. There's a lot of different types of people here, you know. And I always, you know, say this is that, you know, it's going to get the point. We're going to get to the point where we're not going to know one from the other. And I don't mean by color. It's just going to be who's being truthful and who's being the liar. You know, and it used to be we can go even to the clergy, and there we would expect we wouldn't have that. And how many times have you or I heard that that's going on in there too? You know, they find people out, they're doing stupid. We're all human, we all make mistakes, this is true. But there is a standard that all people of this world should maintain and try to follow that. You know, to where somebody can go to the market, and they can go to the butcher, or to the dairy, or to the person that's selling the fruit, and they know what they're getting, and they're in fact getting what they know, and they're paying for it, you know, fair price, etc. But we're not living in that world anymore, unfortunately. So, saying this to say, all of those that want a Western man, that's one of our biggest fears, is that it's like, if it's not going to be any different, and it could possibly be more complicated, and or, you know, we're feeling like we're not with somebody that's good or that can communicate, and that's, we're on the same level or same page, that's gonna become, you know, magnified, I would think. You know, that wall will always be there, that question in your mind, you know. And I think all men, I don't care here, there, or anywhere else, and all women, you want to be reassured in a relationship that you're getting what you're getting. And although we know it's going to change, you know, more wrinkles, more of this or that, health issues, but we don't want to feel like we're with somebody that's not telling us the truth. So, you know, I do this just for that. I don't do it, but I want you to know, because I think sometimes we all, and I still do it, you know, I look elsewhere, and I don't even know. There's a lot of smiles, a lot of pretty girls out there, if you're looking for one, all over the world too. And unfortunately, you don't know the liar from the thief, and who's on board and who's really just trying to work you or work into your pocket. So it's unfortunate. I don't know why, since we have to do this online stuff anyway, or LDR. What did I say? What did I start off saying that was? Right next to you in this country too. I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of people that are married or in the same house, same church, long distance relationship, 6 feet away. We don't have to get on the phone and break our own hearts or try to get with somebody that's, I'm going to tell you, it's just like anything, man. If we were getting in a boat and going from here to there, that has to be mapped out and navigated. You just can't do it. Me trying to climb a mountain and telling her, oh, I'm going to climb this mountain. I didn't have the rope, the picks, the shoes, the strength to do that. And then knowing what I knew or found out, that made it more real. And then I just felt like, you were going to let me climb that, and not being prepared, knowing that I would definitely fall. And I just don't understand that kind of mentality. And I want those that look at this, ever, if they do, I want you to know that stuff's going on, not just there, here too. I don't care how we paint it or how it looks, but I think if we don't talk about some of these things and try to straighten them out, and and if you look at some of the stuff that's happening around the world too, and this is Asian countries, they're making AI technology in China and places like that, right? So all you girls that are telling untruths, guess what? Some of these people that can afford it, they're going to be buying a robot that looks as pretty as you and will never do that to them. And it's going to be, the sell will be that it's a lot cheaper than getting involved with somebody that's not honest and true. That's my personal opinion, but I think we're going there, and I think they're talking about it a lot. They're going to do that with a lot of things too. Even all these things where cops just jump on people because they assume, they're going to have the technology, just like in movies that we watched when we were younger, RoboCop. They're going to have that. That's coming. And they will identify the crook from the one that's not up to trouble. See, which is going to eliminate work or jobs. Might create some, but not enough to feed this world. So those of you that have a truth and that know God or whatever, and it's in your heart, and you want health and well-being and a spiritual, whatever, some moxie, I think they called it. You want to get real with people. This constant, sell, 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 and we don't know good from bad, and we got to get away from that. And don't be the fool, and be the bigger person. And I'm trying to hopefully convince those that would listen, do right by others, always do good by them. I know they nailed, so we're told, Christ to a cross, right? It didn't stop him from doing what he had to do that was right by man, setting a better way, a better example. Let's all do that. Then we can truly claim our Christian hearts. And I don't care what religion you are. Most of them will tell you, be right, do good. We're given what we're given because that's what we have. And, you've got to do our best to use that to the betterment of others and ourselves, but not put ourselves before anything. And I say that from my heart. And, it's not like I'm trying to look at myself and talk to you, but I felt like, okay, let's get to know each other. You understand English? Good. I don't care what nationality you are. Let's talk. Let's get to know one another. Let's be friends. Oh, and then, by the way, like and subscribe. You can. Let's just try to do things that are healthy for ourselves and help others. That's what it's all about. What happens if a country, even whether it's ours or yours, is identified as just being not a truthful type of people or country, ours or yours. What do we expect that's going to happen if that just gets magnified each year that goes by? What do you think is going to happen? More? People, oh, I want one of those. It's like just stacking up bottles of poison and say, which one do you want to drink? None of them, really. And that's why that AI technology is going to step in real quick. And it's already there, but it's going to be an option. And we're being trained to accept that. And we have to social distance so that we don't catch this COVID. But there's going to be other things behind that. If that ever mutates or we all don't get it, it's not going to be just that people are in fear of. They're in fear of a lot of other things. And I was always, because my heart was looking for the one that wasn't about that. By any way, by no means. I will show my scars, tell my story, so you know where I came from and who I am and what I am. And there's no compromise. And it's not for monetary gain. So if it's better there in the Philippines, since that's where I started this journey, then I ask you all, show me where love is. Let's all work together as a people of the world and try to be upfront and honest with all. And for the glory of God, because that's what we were taught to do. Hopefully. And if not, we have to pray for those and for ourselves, because we got to live in this. So it's just Michael and Jake taking our walk and talk. I wanted to share that with you. You guys have a good one. And FYI, in Chicago, it's really getting rough. Actually, in this big old building, they said that it's active in this building. And no one said nothing to us, except it's in the community. And this building alone isn't a community. So, I've been on edge a little bit about all that. And that's why I haven't been doing, so much of this. But you all take care, be good, love yourself, love others, and always try to encourage others to do the right thing. And the right thing isn't always to be a crook. Okay? You guys have a good one. Michael and Texas Jake. Look, he's all humble. He's ready to go upstairs. And you guys have a good one, and hopefully we'll talk again. Sign and subscribe. All right. Take care. Good night and good morning.